Sports Professor Rick Horrow, inside the $1.3 trillion business of sports. You're on the record. Big issues now. Majors, golf, tennis, and obviously the second half of the Major League Baseball season, NBA, NHL right around the corner, college and pro football. We can see it right around the corner, even closer. Big issues transcend, and one of the biggest is sports, entertainment, infrastructure, politics. David Holt, 38th mayor of Oklahoma City, elected first in April 2018, almost 80% of the vote. He indicated that he would continue the legacy of Mick Cornett, his immediate predecessor, and Ron Norick, the founder of the MAPS concept, Metropolitan Area Project Strategies, that selfishly I was involved with, and Ron Norick way back in the early 1990s. Who knew that we'd have 4 subsequent votes, and the city with over 500,000 residents has propelled itself into the national limelight, with the youngest mayor of that size U.S. city holding office, and now the president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. In Vegas, we caught up with him, receiving the second annual USCM, Conference of Mayors, Sports Legacy Award, which he so richly deserves, on the shoulders of other mayors in that city. And obviously, it's not just the biggest crowd in Oklahoma City's history as the Thunder wins their title and on the way to potentially being a dynasty. He's also the dean of OCU School of Law. He succeeded Ron Norick and Mick Cornett. Oklahoma City, by the way, was the 37th largest city in the country in 1970, and now nearly breaking the 20th barrier with only 700,000 residents, although the area is bigger. And by the way, the bottom line is the Olympics in 2.5 years, with whitewater events in a city that had no water in its river a few years ago, as well as softball in the nation's largest softball stadium. That's all David Holt. Excited to talk about sports and infrastructure. And here's David Holt now. Sports Professor Rick Horrow, inside the $1.3 trillion business of sports. We celebrate iconic leaders once every generation, and we haven't had one this generation, so here he is, David Holt, the youngest mayor. We can go through some of the accomplishments, but the bottom line is David Holt is the reason why Oklahoma City is in its current state of national awareness. There are so many stats. I also am honored to call him a really good friend. Hi.
Yeah. Hello, Rick. Thanks for having me here in this this ballroom in Las Vegas. It's good to be with you.
And oh, by the way, another piece of this too is that you were and are the ongoing president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, which is huge, and you're beginning your term, and I assume it's going to be a world-class term like everything else in your life.
Oh, well, yeah, thank you. That's very kind. Yes, I've been mayor of Oklahoma City since 2018, and just this summer have become president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, which is an organization with a century-long history that obviously has a lot of engagement. In fact, quite a few of us from the conference are here at this sports conference in Vegas. I mean, we have a lot of engagement with the world of sports, which I'm sure we'll talk about in the next few minutes, because the overlap between the business of sports and municipal government has never been stronger in this country.
Well, that's kind, but it's much stronger in Oklahoma City almost than it is anywhere else, and the U.S. Conference of Mayors obviously gets the benefit of your expertise. Everybody, are you a little concerned that people who don't know you now will know you as a one-trick thunder pony as opposed to the guy that has been the next trustee of this vision?
Yes, we have obviously, mayors have range, and there's a lot of other things I do. But yes, certainly this summer history will record as the summer of thunder for sure in our community, and that's quite all right. I mean, the Thunder first changed our city in 2008 by arriving and making us a big league city, and now have changed it again by bringing home our first NBA championship. You
also are the deserved recipient of the mayor's second annual Sports Legacy Award, given on behalf of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, following in the footsteps of the Goodmans in Oklahoma, in Vegas. The Mayor's Award is obviously really important and timely because you are the incoming chairman, but it also stands on the shoulders of other mayors. Ron Norick started the MAPS plan when we were but children in 1993, and when Mick Cornett was the head of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, which I believe was in 16 and 17, you were his chief of staff.
Right.
Which is incredible concerning the transition and the positive transition in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, to the extent I'm being recognized for our community's engagement with sports, I'm obviously sharing that, as you said, with a series of mayors. And one of our secrets to success in Oklahoma City has been that we kind of have passed the baton for 30 years. It has not been like one mayor comes in and undoes the work of the last, you know? And certainly for 30 years, since the passage of MAPS in 1993, which first made major infrastructure investments in the business of sports, which you were the lead consultant on the development of that package in 1993. You were not a child. I was, actually.
Thank you for the age reference. I appreciate that. I remember. Don't rub it in.
But since that time with Mayor Norick and then Mayor Cornett, who recruited the NBA at OKC, and then me, who has continued that legacy, we have obviously, as a community, very much prioritized a sports strategy to elevate our city in ways that go obviously far beyond sports. And any resident would tell you that the city in 2007, and certainly the city in 1992, is a very different place than the city in 2025. And most of us would attribute it to the way we have leveraged the NBA and other sporting endeavors to raise our profile and our brand around the world.
As you're given the award, looked at a lot of stats that were important for people to understand why it's worthy. And one of the comments that I see most specifically, or the numbers, is in 1970 you were the 37th largest city in the country. Today you're 20, and even better, the 718,000 population, I know that's the city itself, is can-do. It's nobody, it doesn't understand what MAPS is. And MAPS, to me, a little bit biased on it, you think of brands in Oklahoma City, you think of Kleenex, you think of Band-Aid, and you think of MAPS. And MAPS automatically is worth X number of points in an election because people understand it is a historical legacy. You got to do it because my mom and dad did it. My grandma and grandpa did it. Yeah. And it's hard to do.
So for a viewer who is uninitiated, MAPS is a 1-cent temporary sales tax that first passed in '93 with your influence and Mayor Norick's leadership.
Right.
And that one in 1993 built the arena that just hosted the NBA Finals. It also built a really cool AAA baseball park. It also put dams on the river, which was foreshadowing. You didn't think of it as creating a rowing
By the way,
community.
there was no water back then in Oklahoma City, just so you knew.
We just wanted water so we'd have an aesthetically pleasing river.
Right.
And that evolved into a rowing community. So later iterations of MAPS, as you said, it's become popular and trusted and something that we rely upon now for funding our quality of life infrastructure. And we're on the fourth one now, have invested in a series of sports-related things in addition to other priorities. And, now we have the Women's College World Series. We have, all these paddle sport activities. And of course, we have the NBA. And we're about to invest in soccer through a new multi-purpose stadium. And all of this has also led us to be a site for 2 sports and 7 events of the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. So, it's just amazing how far we've come and that we're in these conversations.
I don't know if people understood that, but way back when we had MAPS, Rand McNally, and we looked at the very small maps, and I guess you could stretch to say Oklahoma City could be a suburb of LA, but not really. The 2028 Olympics and 2 of the major categories of sports, and I understand from your sports guys that every day is going to be covered with a series of events, either softball or canoe slalom or events that are tied into 2028 Olympics, which is tremendous, unheard of.
So because of these investments we had made through the years, started with putting dams on the river, ultimately MAPS 3 built a whitewater course, which is still the only one west of the Mississippi. And then our investments through the years in our softball stadium, which is the largest in the world. We started having a conversation behind the scenes nearly a decade ago when I first took office in 2018 that finally led to a public announcement last year that we're going to have 2 sports. So there is no city outside of Southern California that is hosting the entirety of even 1 sport, much less 2. And you're right, we're 1,000 miles away, but we have the facilities. And we have this strong partnership with LA28 and the city of LA. And these are, canoe slalom is 6 different events. It took 9 or 10 days in Paris. Softball tournament's one event, but it's a week-long event. And as you said, the entirety of the Olympics, we will have something every single day in the summer of 2028 in OKC. And actually, because of the time difference, we'll often start the day. I think they're going to take advantage of that time difference. So we'll kind of be the only show for a couple hours every morning. And unbelievable once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for our community and really that whole part of the country.
I know how you work. I'm sure you're going to be getting the parameters for the NBC Olympic set viewing stuff like tomorrow, and it'll all be done. You are also the major advocate, but the most vociferous advocate of what Oklahoma City is doing and has done. MAPS has become the national template for infrastructure development, and we're here at the conference of CCON, Sports Entertainment Innovation, over 100 speakers, over 500 attendees, USA Today, a core sponsor of this event. And you also have the idea of what is the central core of this. You're getting the award in the middle of CCON. You love telling the MAPS story, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. MAPS is more than sports, obviously, and that's part of the beauty of it. Is it always kind of wrapped up a lot of different interests into one package that our voters were more likely to support. But as it has evolved, and certainly this month, it does feel like a core of its strategy has emerged to be sports, and obviously we're riding high still in OKC on our NBA championship, which is kind of the ultimate validation of the vision the city leaders and you had 30 years ago that kind of has exceeded even probably your wildest dreams.
Wildest dreams. And by the way, I know I'm kind of old, but we were all kind of shaking on that Sunday. We saw each other at the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and you had to get back for Game 7. Decided not to text you or prior mayors that day. It was a little shaky until it was over. Beginning of the fourth quarter, we knew it was over. And then a dirty little secret, by the way, in terms of how he deals with major events. There was a big article in the Oklahoman about what the victory parade was going to be like. And one of the things we said is, don't give them any bulletin board material. Hide the damn trucks, hide the buses. But they found them, right? ABC found those victory trucks.
Some kid leaked a picture of the buses, and Coach Carlisle of the Pacers made a big deal out of it. But I would say you cannot convince me that Indiana did not have similar planning going on, especially in that scenario. We had to have our parade before the NBA draft, which means the parade had to happen 36 hours after the Game 7 victory.
Yeah.
There's no way Indiana wasn't making the same preparations. But you definitely had to keep it under wraps. You couldn't talk about it to anybody.
No, but you think that the guys on the Pacers are going to listen to the reason why you had to do it? No, Carlisle's going to put it up there, and it's going to be here we go. Sure. But it didn't really matter. At the end of the day, Mike won out. Tell me what you think Oklahoma City Thunder's win meant for the city.
Well, I mean, let me start with what it meant in 08. That puts you in a different conversation. And we're the 20th largest city, which you're correct. But when you throw in the suburbs, we're the 42nd largest market, which means we're kind of on the bubble, right? Because there's only about 30 or 32 teams in all the major sports leagues. So for us to be in that conversation requires us to punch above our weight. And we got that opportunity in 2008. That was a game changer for us. Maybe pun intended, that put us in a different conversation than we had been in before and gave us a global profile, especially through the NBA. So that was the first big step that kind of changed our world. When you win the championship, it's a historic event, it's immortality, right? And it completely, once again, sort of changes the way you see yourself and the way that others see you. And we know that this championship moment will open doors for us for years to come. I mean, and it already has. We've already had so many stories written around the world that would have never been written if we hadn't won the championship. I mean, this week's Economist has this beautiful piece saying that Oklahoma City is forever changed. And they wouldn't have written that story. No. Nor would the USA Today or anybody else on a national or international level. If we had not won. So it's a sports accomplishment, but it becomes a prism through which people view our city's overall progress, and it's opened people's eyes, and I think will continue to for the years to come.
Do you think most of your constituents understand the inherent connection between sports and business these days, given the fact that you've proven yourself over and over and over?
Well, I feel like I can answer that question with confidence and say yes, because we basically asked them, you know,
Yeah.
as you know. So we haven't gotten to talk about it, but 2 years ago, 71% of voters of Oklahoma City passed a 6-year 1-cent sales tax, very similar to MAPS. We didn't brand it as MAPS, but it was very similar to MAPS, to fund $1 billion arena.
Time out.
Yeah.
70, did you hear that? 71%. You glossed over it like it does. That, by the way, that doesn't happen.
Right. No, I mean, these things, most cities aren't even trying them anymore. When they do, they fail. We didn't just pass it, we got 71%. And so, yeah, I feel like I can say, yeah, our residents get what this has meant to Oklahoma City. You know, we haven't had the team long enough for them to have forgotten what life was like before.
Yeah.
And they know that a lot of that growth and progress is attributable to the change in status that we got when we got our first Major League professional sports team, and we wanted to sustain that. So that's why we were building the new arena.
And by the way, there's a message attached to this. It's not just, you know, we stole Kevin Durant from Seattle, which is wrong, but that's part of the message. Is United Airlines flew over Oklahoma City on the way to Indianapolis that caused kind of MAPS to be let's control our destiny with Ron Norick in '93. Then we've got, look, the only way we can guarantee a team staying in town through 2050 is to do the next arena, and nearly 8 out of 10, certainly 7 out of 10 bought that message. So it's not just the generational obligation to improve infrastructure, but it's we got to do it because now we can control our own destiny.
Yeah, and by the way, so last week we finally closed the deal after the approval of the arena. We negotiated our lease for the next year and a half, and now we have it in a legally binding document that all parties have approved. The team will play 25 years in that new arena. We have them secure through 2053 at least. And
You got 3 more years out of it? Oh,
well, you got to do the math. Yeah.
God, I'm sorry about that. Here, you do a cut. Pretty good.
So we have a confidence now that we'll be a major league, a big league city for another generation, and we can now build upon that with confidence.
Yeah, and it takes the private sector collaborating as well. Clay Bennett, the kitchen cabinet behind the business community. You've got a unique community, and I know this, not just because of your leadership, but you have a couple of people who can call 5 people and say, here it is, let's get it done. But they'll only do it under the right circumstances, and you've got it teed up where you make a case, it becomes the right circumstances, and you get that done. Talk about that, too, as you go to other communities and try to give advice.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, obviously, it requires a public-private partnership. Cities, as far as I'm familiar with, don't own teams, you know, I mean, so even though as the mayor, you're often the recipient of people saying, hey, we should get this team or that team, I always have to say, well, you know, is there an owner who will partner with us in that? We can work on the infrastructure, but you know, ultimately we need a private sector owner, and that's what we have in Clay Bennett and his partners, who bought the team in Seattle in 2006. And you know, it's a long, tortured story how they ended up in Oklahoma City, but we did our part, and so yeah, it's a partnership, and you know, we built the facilities, but ultimately we've needed their support, you know, to own the team and to fund the team and to pay all those salaries. We're not doing that part, you know, and that's so it takes both of us for sure.
Yeah, clearly. A couple more on certainly the uniqueness of MAPS as well. I've seen you at one of the committees at the U.S. Conference of Mayors be the person that talked about the unique funding mechanism of MAPS. There's no way you can explain that to other mayors because there requires a significant amount of chest pounding that you probably won't want to do. But it's very difficult to do the consensus building that was attached to MAPS 1, where you got the ballet attached to softball, attached to the river, there's no water. But then even more important, MAPS 2, MAPS 3, MAPS 4, and the Band-Aid oriented kind of branding. So what's so special about MAPS and Oklahoma City in your estimation?
Well, I mean, at this stage now, we obviously have a proven track record. Your enemy is still complacency. You can't just assume, oh, like the support will always grow, because you can also run into people saying, you know, I think we've done everything, you know, and I don't know that we need to do any more. So it's not easy, but we definitely have the wind at our back with the track record that you helped create. You know, the original MAPS, as you know, only got 53%. I mean, barely passed. Now we get 72% for MAPS 4.
And 78% for your reelection.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, something like that.
But MAPS, as you said, is an exercise in coalition building. That's one of its hallmarks, is that it's usually a grouping of projects that kind of satisfy different constituencies. It's always temporary. That's critical, I think. Sure, it'd be easier to just pass it once and then spend the money forever. But the fact that we're always able to say, here's what we're going to do. Here's 9 projects, 8 projects, 16 projects, and then do it, and then it ends, and then we're going to come back to you with another list, has really proved, maybe it's more work for us, but it's proven very effective, and it's built trust with the community. Go ahead.
I don't want to interrupt you. I'll never interrupt you. I don't ever want to interrupt you. But there is a trust follow-up that's obvious. If one of these maps didn't deliver what that map's promised, it would be that much more difficult, maybe even impossible to get the next one done. So it's a testament to mayors that understand what the obligation is to not only get maps passed, but to follow through on the promises.
Yeah, no, we've always built it. I mean, some have been more successful than others, but we've always kept our word to build it. You know, I mean, and we always have, and we have to keep that word sometimes across administrations, and I mean, maps now will take 10 to 15 years to implement each one because they're gigantic initiatives. And so oftentimes it's another mayor taking the baton from a prior mayor. But again, that's all worked out to the benefit of our community. Obviously, in different situations, you could have a mayor who says, I'm not going to build all that stuff. That wasn't my idea.
No, right.
But we have never taken that attitude.
And by the way, it happens in some other cities, maybe most other cities. But a couple more. One is, most people don't understand that, I guess this is your day job, but you run Oklahoma City Law School.
Yes,
right?
I'm also the
dean.
This is more common among big cities than people might realize, especially in our part of the country, but we don't really pay our mayors a living wage, so I have another job. I am also dean of Oklahoma City University School of Law, so I wear a couple of hats, and now I've got a third as president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors.
Yeah, and a fourth, you're going to be involved in sports debate, although you don't know it yet. You just wrote a significant letter of support, which is really kind of nice. So where is David Holt? I know where Oklahoma City is going to be in 10 years. Where is David Holt in 10 years?
Oh, I don't know. You gotta live day to day, Rick.
Yeah,
and
there you
seize
go.
opportunities when they come. But for the foreseeable future, I mean, I've got an arena open. I've got an Olympics to host. There's no better job than being the mayor of Oklahoma City right now.
Well, there's no better job of being a friend of the mayor of Oklahoma City, and I have 3 very specific and very important words on behalf of me and everybody in Oklahoma City. Don't go anywhere. Thank you, my friend. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, David Holt, important, winning the second Mayor's Legacy Award at the CCON Conference, Sports Entertainment Innovation. 500 attendees, 200 or over 100 speakers, and a tremendous networking opportunity. It has now become the gold standard of thought leadership every year, plus regional events. I'll continue to keep you posted. David Holt, obviously a worthy recipient of the mayor's second annual Sports Legacy Award, and couldn't come at a better time and a better place at CCON's second annual conference in Las Vegas. Let's look at the top 5 issues of the last week. The opening drive. Well, obviously the first is U.S. British Open. Nearly 300,000 spectators, the 153rd event of the Open. And by the way, what a great showcase for Ireland. 382 courses, every course within 7 miles of each other on the island. If you want to play, you got to go. The bottom line is a commercial victory for there. 400,000 square feet of commercial space dedicated to transactions in the Belfast area and Royal Portrush. 6,000 volunteers showcased Belfast and Portrush's significant support for the event. 6 years ago, I had a chance to spend some time interviewing and looking at the Hollywood course that Rory McIlroy played in. Even though he didn't make the cut then, he had a substantial event, as you'll see.
Sports Professor Rick Horrow, we're here at Hollywood, and we're not here in Hollywood, California. This is about an hour down the road from Royal Portrush, 148th British Open. They call it the Open here, obviously. Last time it was held in Northern Ireland, Max Faulkner won in 1951 at Royal Portrush. And now, look where I am. It's Hollywood Golf Course and the hometown hero. This is the parking space. The club executive, the treasurer are over there. Rory McIlroy, he's over here. Not doing too well this week, but let me tell you about the tournament. 40% increase in tourism, economic impact of over $100 million. They're talking about 20% increase in food, restaurant, taxis, transportation as well, and also the infrastructure for airlines in and out. We've got 2 major airports plus Dublin. And here's the other thing. 30 years ago, we talk about the Catholic and Protestant troubles, capital T. Nobody's hiding from that here, but the bottom line is it's a lot different than normal events where they have to overcome image issues. They really do here. They want to be part of the regular rotation for the British Open, and the first time it's held in Northern Ireland in nearly 60 years, over 60 years, certainly is going to help. Economics, yes. Tourism, yes. Infrastructure, yes. Image issues, yes. Rory McIlroy, he revolutionizes golf at his home. Didn't do so well in this tournament, but certainly this tournament is doing well and deserves to be on the regular rotation. Rick Horrow, Royal Port Rush, Hollywood Golf Club. Speak with you soon.
The bottom line is this is an event that is a major, and look for Royal Port Rush to host the event. Certainly next time close, maybe regular rotation. That's number one. Number two, Indianapolis. The collective bargaining agreement with the players in WNBA. How about pay us what you owe us chance? And clearly with a 23% higher viewership, 26% higher attendance, 40% higher merchandise growth, you understand why people feel that way. And 80% free agents at the end of this year. And even more important, there is a $2.2 billion television contract on the horizon. All the more reason why it is a significant opportunity to get a deal done and to probably get it done quickly. That's number two. Number three, Real Madrid, good for them. They're trophyless again for the second year, but they lead the Deloitte Football Money League indicator of substantial revenue, over $1 billion. And the bottom line is they will continue to do that. Why? Bernabeu Stadium renovations on an infrastructure side, continued marketing superiority, success on the field, not enough to be the dynasty, but certainly enough to sustain the brand. If you have all of those going for you, you build substantial momentum to continue that brand, even as the World Cup happens next year, not on European soil, but Canada, Mexico, US, with the strong television and European cultural connections, it's going to be even bigger next year. How about number four? Well, stadium issues are hard to do anyway, and a $3.8 billion deal with the old RFK and a new, quote, Commander Stadium, but Donald Trump has said effectively, no name change, no deal. And whether he can do that or not, or wants to do that or not, is subject to some discussion. He also turned his sights to Cleveland, saying, if you don't return the Guardians name to the Indians, we're going to make it difficult for you. He talked about the Indian heritage, saying the people that he's talked to strongly support this. Not sure whether that's true or not my role. But what is important is a $3.8 billion deal in Washington, along with $1 billion in public infrastructure money. Is it at risk? We'll just have to see. And then number five, we have a new Northern Ireland significant story. Yeah, Royal Port Rush, the economics, the deal, bringing that tournament back. But wait, the hallmark of players, Shane Lowry, Padraig Harrington of Ireland, Paul McGinley, obviously Rory McIlroy, and Luke Littler. What? Wait. Yeah, the phenom, 17-year-old, the world dart emerging champion, the Premier League and the World's Darts Championship, his breakout performance at the 2025 event, scores of agents, marketing folks, and others trying to get in the middle of the relationship with this phenom. The kid is 17 years old. The island itself, about 5 million people. They've got tremendous golfers to root for. Now they have a dart athlete. That's your top 5 stories of the week. Let's look ahead. The top 5 to watch coming up. SECON, Sports Entertainment Innovation, 500 attendees, 100 speakers at the last conference. Look for more. That's what you look ahead to. All of the events on a regional basis with SECON and beyond. Let's look at the next 5 over the next week or two. Number 1, the PFL, the Professional Fighters League, has secured a major broadcast agreement with Sport TV to air its content across key African markets, Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, the new regional league launch, Sporty TV's coverage, 5 live fight broadcasts, more than 5, supporting content, providing fans direct access to the growing MMA product, reflecting PFL's broader efforts to globalize its brand and tap into the African market. African sports, a big number. If you don't think so, just ask NBA Africa. That's number one. Number two, Terrell Pryor. Remember him at Ohio State? He's one of the first founding fathers of the whole NIL conceptual litigation. The settlement was crafted. They reached a deal about when they would start paying NIL. It didn't fit Terrell Pryor's time. He attempted to challenge the NCAA regulations and recover unspecified damages linked to his college athletic efforts and apply NIL rules retroactively. He wanted to pursue a court ruling and an appeal. Courts so far say no, and frankly, a lot of people breathe a sigh of relief, not because of Terrell Pryor personally, but you have to draw a line somewhere, and hopefully the rulings now and the standards get more clarified as opposed to more ambiguous. That's number three. Number four, ESPN drew the highest Wimbledon coverage ratings in 6 years. 721,000 viewers across ABC, ESPN, ESPN2. The 31% increase in viewership over last year's men's final, nearly 3 million. Quarterfinals reaching a 6-year high at 488,000. Wimbledon's growing U.S. appeal. Strategic scheduling changes for later start times. By the way, you may have noticed that the East Coast start time for men and women, 11, not 9. Didn't really affect those in England, but it certainly affected those in the U.S. We'll have to look long term and see how that all shakes out. That's number three. Number four, TSN extends its National Lacrosse League rights through 2025-2026. They granting the linear broadcast rights for the regular season. It enforces NLL's strategy of expanding its audience alongside broadcast partnerships with ESPN. And TSN Plus subscribers also receive live stream access to additional broadcasts via TSN's digital services. Overall, this is a major leap for TSN. It's a major leap for the Canadian rights to the NLL, and we'll see where it all shakes out relative to all of North America. That's number four. Then finally, number five, we started with the Open. We will end kind of with the Open. The RNA reveals that participation in golf across its affiliated countries has reached 108 million participants in 2024, including both adults and juniors, an increase of nearly 3 million since the years before. Adult on-course players, about 65 million, up nearly 2 million, juniors, 44 million. And the non-traditional formula is counted, simulators and adventure golf. That's, by the way, exactly the way the National Golf Foundation views Pop Stroke, Top Golf, and other events in the U.S. And why not? Golf is golf. And if you get people to swing a club, it's a good thing. Asia leads the adult participation, 26 million. Europe, 20. Canada, 7. 37% on-course adult growers or golfers began with non-traditional play, and this is the concept we just talked about. So good for RNA, good for post-open watching. And that's your 5 to watch over the next week or two. We'd like to thank Mayor David Holt, a good friend with his incredible vision, getting ready for the Olympics and getting ready to continually embrace the Thunder. By the way, David had a day in Oklahoma City in July for each member of the active Thunder roster and finished with the most valuable player in the league. But he started with the every player on the roster, another bit of vision and foresight for David Holt and his incredible work in Oklahoma City. We'd like to thank CCON, Sports Entertainment Innovation Conference, for making this all possible. I'd like to thank you all for watching and listening, Callie Kazire for putting this together. And join us next week when we continue to look at the inside stories involving the $1.3 trillion business of sports. Sports Professor Rick Horrow, speak with you soon.